What's up, guys? Welcome back to Face of a Matter. It is your girl Jay here. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experiences and what's kind of going on, kind of like a life update, little chit chat. So if you guys didn't know, I was a sales consultant for Sprint, and I just recently quit. You know, nothing against the company or the people I worked with or anything like that. It was my season there was up. I really felt that God was calling me to really put in the time and the hours and the energy into, my craft and things like that. And the whole purpose of this video is I just want to encourage someone to kind of step out and do just that. If you feel God is calling you to another place, whether it be in your career or whatever else, take that leap of faith, just do it. Because I prolonged my stay at that job. I was there right at a year. It technically didn't make a full year. I think this month, April 29th, would have made a complete year. But I'm going to just round it up a year because I was in the last month. But I just honestly felt God was calling me to a higher place in my career, just to kind of step out and really put in that time to perfect what I have going on here with my platform and just all the other business ventures that I have going on. The crazy part about it all is this. On the outside, I don't know how you guys see me, but on the outside, I feel like sometimes people look at me as a person who just has it all together. I am still, to this day, just kind of thugging it out, doing everything myself when it comes down to, I'm still trying to figure out all the ropes. And I just honestly felt an urgency to, you think about it, when you work a 9 to 5, you're putting in, on average, maybe 8 hours, if not more, into another company, earning that company money. Even though, yes, you are getting paid, but initially you're earning more money for that particular business as opposed to doing what you needed to do. Now, I'm not saying don't work your 9 to 5 job. I'm all for working a 9 to 5 because 9 to 5 sometimes does help pay for the dream. I'm totally for that. Being on full entrepreneur mode, it is like a whole different ball game because, before I worked at Sprint, my bill level was a lot different. So having the extra income, I kind of accumulated a little bit more. So even me moving out, I got a brand new car, things like that kind of amped up, my bills. So me quitting, even in the middle of a pandemic as well, just up and quitting a job almost just kind of seems a little unrealistic. Just every day working, doing something that has nothing to do with your destiny. And then again, I have to watch what I say because I do believe God strategically does things to kind of build us for the next stage of our lives. So even though I could look at it as, selling phones is not part of my future, but I did get to experience things such as like inventory and working with the public and selling product, things like that. Like there's a lot of things that I did learn on my job. So that's why I always say, don't ever knock a 9 to 5. Like a 9 to 5 is cool. So this whole entire video is not me saying, quit your 9 to 5 or just da-da-da. I'm just saying God told me to quit my 9 to 5 job literally in the middle of a pandemic. Literally, God told me to quit my job in the middle of a pandemic, which I literally went back and forth about quitting just because I'm like, well, this job is helping pay bills. It's helped me pay off debt. It's helped me kind of stay on top of my bills and get ahead and, just a lot of different things. And, it's just crazy because I'm like, Lord, I don't know. I'm trying to find my words. It's just so funny how the best things are on the other side of obedience. And when you take the time to give God that trust and dedication and literally walking by faith and not by what you see, when you literally put that into action and emotion, you really start to see the promises that God has for you. And that's what it took for me. It took me being at a job that I know I didn't need to be at that long for a whole year, just for me to start seeing things that I had worked so hard for start to dwindle back, and it put a lot of things in question. God truly will speak when it is time. Sometimes God will remain silent, but when God is ready to tell you something and speak, he will be so vocal, whether it is through signs or whether he just verbally communicates it to you or you see it in a dream or God will literally show forth that answer, especially if it's what you're looking for. So, I went through scripture. I had time. I've prayed, fasted. I've cried. There's so many times I've cried on the job. There's just so many things that I did just to even get to the place of really knowing if that's what God wanted me to do. I'm just here as a messenger. I'm just here as someone who just lives their life, in transparency. I just want you guys to know, if God says it, believe that. If God says something, trust that enough to take that leap of faith. So literally me quitting my job was just kind of like, really, are you sure? Are you sure this is what God is telling you to do? Think about this a little bit more. So I would think about it a little bit more, da-da-da-da. But no, literally, God told me, quit your job. Quit it. Because what I have for you to do, this season of your life is over. So now what I have for you to do, it's going to require you to be, deep into it. You don't have time to be giving hours and hours and hours of your day to another job. You don't have time for that anymore. We're past that point. And one day it will be your time to up and quit a job. Do I have all the money in the world just set aside? No. So I see if I just had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just sitting away in a savings account, I got some, but not what I want, but just for me to up and leave a job was just really scary. And this season, and it's so crazy, this season that I'm in right now, if I could title it, it would be obedience. And just when I'm at, there's so many things that God is testing me with that literally draws back to having that faith, having that childlike faith, and obedience. I want to share something with you guys too. So as a child, I used to rock myself to sleep. I used to do like this with my fingers, and I would rub my fingers like this. That would help me fall asleep. I would get on all fours on my mattress or on my bed, and I would rock back and forth like this, and that would make me fall asleep. So one day during, just one of my at-home worship sessions that I was having, usually if I'm praying, I'm just on my knees, not on all fours, but just on my knees. I'm just praying, or I'm on my face, or I'm just however God has me at that moment. But it was one day I was worshiping, and I was just so overwhelmed with God's Spirit that I found myself on all fours. And while I was praying, I was literally doing the rocking motion. And it just took me over, because it instantly made me, remember when I was a child and how I used to be on all fours, just to rock myself to sleep. But it just reminded me of have that childlike faith. If God said something, believe it. As a child, how do we interact with our peers, our families, parents, or whoever else? If they tell us something, we just go with that. There's no question behind it. So God was just reminding me to have that childlike faith with him. If he said it, believe it and act on it. It's about execution. So this season, just to tie back in, this season of my life is about execution. It's about obedience. So even down to past relationships, God literally told me, I'm not opening up doors for you until this is done, until you shut this chapter. So it was about obedience. It was about that execution. So once I shut the door, so many things just flew wide open. Once I got out of that toxic relationship, so many doors flew open. I was able, and I haven't really even talked about it, but if you guys follow with me on my Instagram, you guys know I was able to meet Jacqueline Carr, and I haven't talked about it because we do have a video coming out here soon. But, a door just opened for me to meet Jacqueline Carr and collab with her on a video, and it was just crazy. It was just so crazy. I've been kind of on the DL about it, but it's just been so crazy. So many doors have opened. So even down to this, me being at this job, I would pray about, God, can you open up these doors for me? Can you allow me? This is my thing. I'm sitting here saying, God, can you, bless me with trips? I want to go here and I want to go here. And God's like, okay, you can go out of the state, but you don't even have a passport. So where you going to go? You know what I'm saying? So I have to, it's a part of being obedient and doing my part. So how am I going to sit there and ask God to bless me with all these trips, and I don't even have a passport to go out of the country? You know what I'm saying? Even though God is still faithful and just, he still allowed me to take a flight, out to another state, but it's the same thing. So even me being at this job, I'm asking God to open up all these opportunities for me, which he still did, to allow me to still build my brand, to build my, platform and whatever else I had going on, just to still make money. But, he's looking at me like, what am I going to continue to bless you with all these opportunities for? And you don't even have the time to do them. You don't have the time to work on them. You're going to be at Sprint all day long, and it's retail. So if you work at retail, then if your schedule says 10, let's just throw a time out there. If it says 8:30 to 6, working in retail, sometimes it's not going to end at 6. Or if you have a middle shift or a night or a closing shift, if you come in at 12 and you're supposed to get off at 8, that's sometimes not the case, because when you're going to have to count down the money, you're going to have to fold the clothes or put up the merchandise. Or you just might have that late customer that may come in last minute and do whatever else. So you may end up, being past that time that's on your schedule. So it's a hit or miss. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, God, so is this really what you want me to do? And I'm telling you, I have sat back and asked God for a sign. God has given me a sign, and I didn't take it. So it literally got to the point to where I literally had someone random come. I mean, I knew the person, but they not even exposing them to this type of information that I had going on between God and I. But they literally came up to me and says, you know what? You are going to end up missing your window to allow your business to soar because you're not doing what God said. And like when and I mean, of course the words were a little switched. I can't remember exactly how they said it, but that literally just put so much fire under my tail, because I'm like, God, I don't want to miss my opportunity. I don't want to miss my window on what it is that you really have for me to do, because I'm out here playing with my life. I'm out here playing with my platform. The platform that I have, people are working harder than me, and I got it right now. People are working hard to have that platform, and will end up having that type of platform. And it's like, Jalen, you've been put in a position to do something great, so why aren't you doing it? So, yes, God spoke to me and said, quit your 9 to 5 during this pandemic. Why not? I'm God. Trust me. So because of that, it has literally built my faith to another level, guys. Like, it has built my faith to another level. I mean, I've literally seen myself go from no money to having money, to literally having a car ready to break down, to having a brand new car, from me wishing I could live on my own. It was just a faint thought, to now I'm living in a beautiful loft. Like, come on, downtown. Like, really? You know what I'm saying? So God is that just, that he will make things happen. If you just have to manifest those things, you have to speak those things, you have to believe those things, and most importantly, you have to be obedient to what God is saying and execute. Nothing, any dream, any goal, anything that you have will remain a thought, will remain something in your mind if you do not put the work in, if you do not put action behind it, if you do not execute those things, if you don't write it out and actually work towards those things. At the end of the day, it works the same way. It says in the Bible, faith without works is dead. So at the end of the day, you can sit back and say, oh, I have faith, oh, I have faith, oh, I have faith. But do you really exercise that faith? Do you really put that faith to the test? Do you, in time of trial, do you really have that faith to lean on God? And I'm telling you, moving out, and I may have talked about it a little bit in my video of just kind of talking a little bit about moving out or whatever, but it has literally changed my mindset on how I trust God. I mean, it's so different now. It's so different, and it's not just the monetary things about having money and the bills, but it's literally creating a space that I can come to that's mine, that I know God reigns here, because I've allowed that space to be somewhere that he could come and that he knows he's welcome. I mean, it's just so crazy how life works sometimes, but not to get off track here, but I'm just here to share my experiences, because it's just so crazy. Like, the way I feel now is so different. Like, because before I even worked at Sprint, I mean, you could say I was on entrepreneur mode. I was, just doing videos and, campaigns and promotions at the time. That's all I was really doing. But it's different now, because I don't have my dad next door to kind of take care of things for me. But everything's on me now, so it's a little different. So even me being really in that entrepreneur mode, it's so different. It's so different. And then on top of that, I'm going to share something with you guys, and you guys will probably look at me a little different, but that's okay, because I'm transparent and it's cool. I'm doing this all on my own. I believe God will connect me to the right people in due time, but I want to share this with you. So I had been working with a brand. It was time for the payment to be sent. And they ended up sending the payment. But usually if I get paid from a partnership or whatever it is, a lot of the times they'll send it like through a check in the mail, right? So when they sent it in the check, it had usually sometimes it'll have my first and last name on it. It'll have my actual birth name on there. So it's, of course, that's easy to go to the bank and cash it. Show them your ID, deposit into your bank account or whatever you got going on. But this time, and this happened right after I quit, right? So me getting this check was really good because I was like, man, this can really hold me for like a minute, just allow me to save and pay off some more stuff and blah, blah, blah. So I was so excited. So even, side note, even when that check came as a surprise because I didn't know how I was really going to navigate as far as like just saving more money and paying bills, things like that. So anyway, but this check came out of nowhere, right? And like I said, usually the check is written out to me, but this time it was written out to Face Over Matter, my brand name. And so when I went to go cash it and, you know, just deposit into my account, on the check, on the mail slip, sometimes with checks it comes up with like 3 parts. There's like the mailer part, then there's another part, and then there's the actual check. So on one of the other parts, it had my first and last name with my address and things like that on there. But the actual check where it says pay in order of or pay order to or something like that, it just had Face Over Matter right there. It didn't have Jalen right there. So long story short, when I went to go to the bank to cash it, I couldn't cash it. They said, oh, do you have a business account with us? And I'm like, no, I don't. Mind you, I had been working with my accountant for a while, and we were going to get my my business name set up, the copyright stuff, all of that set up. And I hadn't done it yet. I kept putting it off. Ended up getting another job. This is what I mean about putting other things before what I really needed to do. So I kept putting it off. So I'm like, well, what all do I need, you know, other than like my tax ID number? Because I said, I have a tax ID number for my, you know, when I filed my taxes and stuff. So I have my tax ID number for it. They said, no, we need some other information. So I'm like, what? So I hit up my account and I'm like, hey, what else do I need like to set up my account, da-da-da-da. So it was probably like a 3-day process I went through to get that check cashed. And I freaked out just simply because I'm like, oh my goodness, I just quit this job. And then on top of that, I said, I hadn't even set up my business account yet. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I really, like, it just made me see how off I was about my brand. And it just kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of like threw me for a second. So I was like, I really need to like get this set up. I really need to like get on my stuff. So long story short, I had to go through this process of getting that finalized. So now officially Face Over Matter is my name. Then I was able to open up my account and cash my check and all of that stuff. So the lesson I got out of that was I felt like God was really saying like, Jalen, get your stuff together. You keep asking me to bless you, but you don't have your stuff lined up to be able to receive certain things. Because I'm like, okay, on a company standpoint, they see that my name is Face Over Matter, not Jalen. So yeah, if they write a check to Face Over Matter, how come I couldn't cash it? Like, that's how I was looking at it. I'm like, that looks so unprofessional, blah, blah, blah. So I had to get all that set up and all that straight. I mean, I'm good now, praise the Lord. So, but it was just a wake-up call. So I don't think I would even have gotten to that point of trying to get all this stuff straight if I wouldn't have quit my job, if I wouldn't have gone through that small little, you know, freak out of almost feeling like I was going to be broke. You know, it got me to that point. So all glory to God and everything ended up working out. But I just want to encourage you guys, you know, sometimes the best days of your life, the best blessings, the biggest thing that you may want or the biggest desire of your heart or the biggest desire of God's heart for you is going to be on the other side of trusting Him and being obedient to something that He has said to you. If He is speaking to you, if you have been praying about something, you've been looking for a sign to do X, Y, and Z, take this as your sign. God, if it's not, allow them to know that it's not their sign. But if it is, just please take heed to what I'm saying. If you feel, and of course, let's be wise about it. Let's make sure we got money set aside and whatever else we need to do. See how long we can extend it before we need to go get another job or something like that. Like, of course, take all those things into consideration. But at the end of the day, God is who he says he is. And if he says he's a provider, then that's what he's going to be for you. And then that's what's going to happen. So I had to, and this is what I mean about relationship. It's going to take you going through a personal experience for God to show himself to you, so that way you can label him as your provider, as your healer, as your protector, as your God, as your father, as your mother. I mean, whatever it is he is to you, you're going to have that experience with him to be able to label him as that. But he is everything that you need him to be. So in order for me to know that he was really a provider, I had to go without. So I knew and I would experience him being that provider for me. That's just what it is. It's all about that experience. And I know I'm kind of tying it back into a relationship because that's all that it is. If I did not have these sit downs with God and have these prayer moments with God and these worship sessions and just talking with God, and for him to say, quit your job now. Again, even though I took my good time doing it, but now that I've done it, I see why it was needed. And I see why, now I see what it is that I need to be doing, because it has cleared my vision. It's cleared it of all the clutter, of all the debris and everything. Now I see what I really need to be doing, and now I can focus on that and go full throttle on it. So I'm just here to encourage you guys, if you've been thinking about it, if you know God has been telling you to do something, do it. It doesn't even have to be about quitting a job. I mean, if it's a relationship, if it's something within your career field, if it's just getting closer with him, if it's fasting, if it's tithing more, if it's, whatever it is, do what he says. The best things are yet to come, but sometimes it is on the other side of obedience. It's on the other side of executing and putting action behind what it is that he says. And I'm all for it. It's so much easier said than done. It is, because in the midst of it, I'm like, oh no, God, that don't even make any type of sense. Oh no, ma'am. So, but seriously, sometimes it's not going to make sense. It's not for us to make sense of it. It's not for it to make sense to us. Because again, God's thoughts are not our thoughts. We don't think like him. So the way that he has it orchestrated, of course, it's going to look like chaos to us, but it's a beautiful blueprint. It's a beautiful orchestrated plan that he's designed that makes sense. But we're in this, so almost imagine yourself in the middle of a maze. So God's above looking like, okay, go this way, go that way. That's so good. Thank you, Lord. Go this way, go that way, because he sees the the exit. But imagine being in the middle of the maze. We're looking at wall to wall, or however mazes look or whatever. So in the middle, we're looking around the corner like, oh, there's another wall. Oh, there's another wall. Okay, I'm going to go this way. Dang, this is the wrong way. This is a dead end. All right, let me go back. Like, that's how it looks for us. So again, we need God to show us the way. So trust him. If he says go left, go left. If he says go right, go right. If he says quit, quit. If he says leave, leave. Okay? It is easier said than done, but that's why his grace is there. That's why he gave us Jesus, so we can have that grace. So even though he knew we were going to be stubborn, we were going to be disobedient and do our own thing and try to make sense of it ourselves just because of comfortability and whatever else, he still gave us grace to say, hey, I know it's hard, but just trust me. Even though we were like, all right, Lord, I trust you, but I don't like that. He's still loving on us. He's still blessing us, and he's still carrying us through each and every trial, each and every step. So that is the end of this video. I hope this was encouraging. But yeah, I just kind of want to throw in a little updated life thing with my job. I quit my 9-to-5. I did. And I'm so happy I did. It's nothing against the company. It's nothing against the people I work with. I've never had to up and quit a job like that. I never have. Never experienced it. So that was definitely something new for me, to just kind of up and leave like that. But I knew it was needed. I don't regret it. I'm very happy with my decision, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter in my life. And honestly, I feel like hanging on to that job was almost hanging on to my past, hanging on to things that I had already overcome. And I just felt like I was still somewhat attached to that stuff through that job. It may sound crazy, But that's just what it is. So I'm like, yeah, in order for me to fully heal, in order for me to fully grasp what's new, I gotta leave. I have to leave. So as always, if you're new, guys, I'm Jay. If you're not new, I just thank you so much for supporting me with whatever I do here with my channel. I love each and every one of you to know. And of course, until next time, God willing, I will definitely see you all in my next video. Mwah.